This is False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer at Fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who I think enjoys sushi sometimes, enjoys having the company of other people around him. But as long as they're not sugar daddies or people about to break up, I think he's okay with that. Cody Williams, content director, Fansided.com. How the hell are you?
I mean, look, I'm not going to get into too much graphic detail, but if a sugar daddy wants to give me a call, I am open for business. Let's be clear about it. But like just doing the podcast and being a sugar baby, that doesn't sound like the worst life in the world. But I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
3, 4, 2, 4, 3, 6. Hey, I live a life of crime. Yes, dirty deeds
That's
done dirt cheap.
I just don't want to be under the bridge with Antonio anymore. That's all it boils down to.
I don't want to be in an alley with Bon Scott either, but that's sometimes what we got to do. But yeah,
That's right.
so this stems back to the Arizona State podcast celebrated a very special birthday on Friday, and we go out to eat for some sushi. Cody and the boys and everybody else on .com took care of it while I got to go out there and take care of her. So we walk into this sushi, nice, sophisticated place, place you spend about $100 a head for when you get in there.
Oh yeah.
And we sit down, food's amazing. And as we're looking around us, there's like four couples of sugar daddies around us. It was really uncomfortable.
Look, man, the sugar daddy dynamic demands expensive sushi, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, it was slightly uncomfortable, but not as uncomfortable as to this couple directly to the other side of us of one sugar daddy. He messed up and she knew it and they didn't talk, and it was kind of like we're gonna break up, but we need to have this nice meal first.
We don't want to abandon each other at the restaurant. At least it was cordial. At least it's cordial like that.
No, like on the Cody Trevor Dylan scale, he was a Dylan and it was spelled as dumb as you would think it is.
Dillyn, Dylan.
Yeah, it struck to me like he either like tried to hook up with the girl's best friend or her sister, and that's why she wanted to like just seething eyes.
You know what? All points to her because yeah, that's you gotta nix that one.
No, but the other than that, how was the play? This like, well, the sushi was great. It was,
Hell yeah, I love a good sushi place. I actually haven't had, shockingly enough, New Mexico not exactly booming with great sushi
this comes as
restaurants.
quite a shock. I figure that like it's just a mountain trout. That's just you're having trout.
You're not, you think you're kidding, but like legitimately you go anywhere they have fish on the menu, there's a 98% chance it's brown trout for sure.
Oh man, that is some good stuff. I did have some restaurant in Atlanta called Agave. It sells like New Mexican food, so it was really cool. And I had some of that, and it was amazing. And I ate the skin, and my stomach did not like it, but it was good otherwise.
Hey, the skin's supposed to be good for you. So maybe it was just like, oh, what are these new vitamins for me? I love it.
This is a man who like shocks the pool by eating Taco Bell in the reg, bro.
That's right. 100%. Gotta keep it guessing down there.
You got to keep it guessing, and we got to keep you guessing. Yes, we obviously false started here with just some birthday shenanigans. There will definitely be some more I got to talk about regarding Antonio later in the day. That
Oh
was
yeah, 100%.
he was a part of it. But yeah, obviously we're gonna be false started, and our first and 15 today, as it is on every Monday. Yeah, Monday. It's Thanksgiving week. We don't know what day it is.
Yeah,
It's Monday.
days are irrelevant at this point, quite frankly.
Yes, it's we're gonna do some Stephen B. Swift's second take. So we're looking at essentially what the AP Top 25 put out there Sunday at 2 Eastern, noon Mountain, because that's the only two time zones that matter here for us. And
Mhm.
just seeing how that's going to impact potentially what comes down the pipeline with the playoff rankings, which Cody's going to be coming to you semi-live with some playoff Goldilocks on Tuesday night. It's going to be sweet.
It's gonna be sick. And looking at the AP Top 25, I think like the main takeaway, especially after what we saw this past week, the first one is like I feel like Indiana's pretty comfortably in this college football playoff field. Like they only dropped to 10, which obviously they had some help in doing that, but like the narrative kind of became clear as we approached that Ohio State game that it might be, if like barring any chaos, that Indiana either needed to win or they might not, like they were in real risk of missing the playoff, but they got enough chaos behind them with Georgia losing, with Texas, or sorry, with Alabama losing, with Texas A&M losing, and they got enough chaos behind them to kind of keep them comfortably in that spot. So like I think that at this point where it currently stands, I don't see a world where Indiana doesn't get into this playoff. I mean, do you think the playoff committee is going to differ from that?
The only way I think that there's only two ways they don't get in. They lose to Purdue, which I wrote. There's a better chance of Lee Corso wearing a Lee Corso head, coaching the Hoosiers on the sidelines for them losing.
Yeah.
They're still going to win if he does that.
Yeah.
Uh, but like they're going to win the Old Oaken bucket. But like the only way that like I see Indiana not making it is if somehow Penn State lost to Maryland, and then I believe Ohio State loses to Michigan, and they would go to Indy, and then they get smoked by Oregon. I think if
Yeah.
you've got two sizable defeats of that magnitude, that may put you in the range of how we previously viewed SMU. At this point, I
Hmm.
think we're viewing SMU very strongly, and the AP put them a spot ahead of Indiana at 9, which
Hmm.
finally we're going to see SMU get some respect by the committee, or they may just continue to wake up and not respect them.
Can I ask you a question? Because I had someone on Twitter tell me that I was, or sorry, the X telling me that I had been disrespecting SMU. I feel like I've been in SMU's corner for like a month now, man. Like, what is happening here?
You've been like I was the original
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like they're gonna go to the ACC championship game. And you're like, that's a little wild, dude. But then about like since the Pitt game, you're like, dude, I'm all in on SMU. This team looks filthy good. And really
Yeah.
since they
Like,
went since Jennings, yeah,
yeah,
basically.
since they moved to Jennings, I've been like, look, man, with Preston Stone, I think I was right to be concerned because like this team was looked a lot different with Preston Stone at quarterback. Since they made the move to Kevin Jennings, this team's been gangbusters every time they played. And I was just a little shocked. I was like, what did I write about SMU or what did I say about SMU that was negative? I don't understand that.
I mean, you've been pretty pro SMU. I mean, you've been pro ponies and pro Trans Ams, and this is false start. But
Always.
really the biggest thing that I had that I think is going to be different, uh, as happy as I am to see Georgia at 6 and Tennessee directly behind Georgia, I got a feeling Miami is going to be ranked higher.
Mm,
I feel like that's I don't have a problem with there being no gap between them and SMU. I think it's like 95 points based on
yeah.
what we saw with the AP top 25. But I'm like, they're going to put Miami above there just so it again, it's the college football playoff is going to be aired on ESPN and ESPN properties and Turner to some extent. That means it's SEC and ACC. And if the SEC is going to self-combust, God forbid, we're only going to get 4 teams in between those two leagues. Let's get another ACC team in there.
I do think that that makes some sense. I do wonder. I think there's two ways it could go, and I think it could affect two different spots in the rankings. One, like if they value quality wins more than just overall record, then Georgia's going to be ahead of Miami because Miami does not really have quality wins to speak of at this point. And the flip side of that could affect is I think there's a chance that we could, after the way Notre Dame beat Army, a team that's probably still going to be in the top 25 of the college football playoff rankings. I think there's a chance we see Notre Dame jump ahead of Penn State because yes, Penn State's loss is obviously way better, but also Penn State does not have like a real signature win to their credit. Like they are a slightly better version of of Indiana at this point, quite frankly, because like you don't like you played one big game and you lost it. Like that's just what it boils down to.
I would actually say that, I mean, Indiana's got a better case than Penn State. I mean, Penn State lost at home. They didn't score an offensive touchdown on
Yeah.
Ohio State. I would say the two wins that probably match up the closest of what's your best win, that would be Indiana beating Michigan by 5, whereas I think Penn State's best win is beating Minnesota by 1.
Yeah, right. It's like it's not we're not looking at it goes back to the point that we made a billion times. Like why is Penn State where they are? I don't understand it. Speaking of why are they where they are, Missouri's ranked again. Hell yeah, brother. Good job, Dream.
Keep trying to sell you and you keep coming back.
It's unbelievable. I will say I projected it in the projected AP top 25, and my line about it was, look, the AP voters clearly want to have this Missouri team ranked, so who am I to disagree with them? If I'm doing projecting, like they're gonna have them in this poll.
I was kind of right there with you. I'm like, once you get past like the Colorado and A&M down there in the 2021 range, however you want to do it. I also think that they're going to rank Colorado higher than 23.
Yeah,
Be-
I thought it was a little. I mean, again, I guess it comes down to the Kansas loss, and like you're looking at it, and like you lost to a team that's still not bowl eligible, you know? So like I can understand where that's coming from, but like use your eyes, man. This Kansas team is not the Kansas team that lost 6 games already. Like that's not the team that we saw on the field the past 3 weeks.
exactly. I wrote this for fansided.com yesterday on Sunday with the AP top 25 too high, too low sort of thing. I think right now the AP has a 9 team range between Arizona State at 14 and Colorado at 23. That's too vast. I feel that
Yeah.
like it's going to be like a 6 team range. Like Arizona State should be like 12 to 14 and Colorado should be somewhere like 18 to 20.
Yeah, like I honestly I think 18 to 20 should be Iowa State, Colorado,
Yeah.
and BYU in some order. Like that, but those three teams need to be grouped together in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty close. The one other thing, anything else in here that's the one thing that I was really struggling with is Ole Miss, South Carolina there at 15, 16. It's like I understand that Ole Miss throttled South Carolina, but South Carolina's I don't think anybody wants to play them right now, and I wouldn't be shocked if they beat Clemson.
No, and the other thing that, they did throttle South Carolina. I was looking back at that game just trying to figure out like how South Carolina looked that incompetent based on what we're seeing now because like they weren't playing bad at that point. That was a game when Norris Sellers did not play. So that was a Robbie
Right.
Ashford game. So that explains a lot about what happened there.
I was suspecting, this is a good old Robbie Ashford game. And
We know what those look like from his time at Auburn.
you know what the Robbie Ashford board game would be called? It's called Playoffs. You kidding me? That was good.
You are kidding me, indeed, because there's no damn way Robbie Ashford's seeing the playoff.
No, no, sir. So yeah, we're gonna go through our top 12 or our 12 team playoff brackets, first four out. Feel we got some good stuff with the AP, but really want to talk about this. So, you know what? I'm gonna start real quick. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
my first four. I think the first four is pretty standard for me.
Okay. I'm a little
I,
spicy today, so get ready.
okay, perfect. So, number one, I've got Oregon.
Okay.
Two, I've got Texas. Three, Miami. Four, Boise State, and then Arizona State would be 12. That's where I'm
Okay.
at right now with the AQs.
Okay. So as I do on these shows on Monday, I'm projecting what I think is going to happen based on what I've seen, like based on the latest information, based on the latest data points that I have. So I have Ohio State at 1. I think we talked about it on Saturday night. I think Ohio State is playing like the best team in the country. I think they're playing better than Oregon right now. And I think if you give this Ohio State team a rematch on a neutral site, that's going to be more Ohio State favored than Oregon favored because Indianapolis is just a lot closer to Columbus. I think Ohio State is going to win that, get one back, and get the 1 seed. I have Texas at 2 because I still, until Texas shows me a reason that they're going to lose, I can't have them not losing. 3, I still have SMU because I think they're playing better than Miami, frankly. There's a nice thing I said about SMU for anyone that's out there listening. And then 4, I do have Boise State. I do think Boise State gets that. And then Arizona State again in the 12 seed because they're playing as good as anyone in the Big 12 right now, but they also have like the most likely path to the Big 12 championship game at this point.
For sure. Yes. So I have Ohio State and SMU in my top 12. Just shocker. Whoa. It's
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So at 5 for me, I've got Ohio State. Again, I just need to see them. It's one of those things where like I'm kind of projecting what it's gonna be this week.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of leaning more and more with you. I think Ohio State may get them in the rematch. I think Ohio State's my pick to win the national title. Just saying that so Georgia could beat them. That'd be great.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I've got Ohio State at 5. Who do you have at 5?
Five's Oregon. So I mean, we're just flip-flopping the two Big Ten teams right there. Like Oregon, if you're there's no way they're not the 5 seed, even if they lose the Big Ten championship. I don't even care what it looks like. They can get blown out, and I still think they're probably the 5 seed.
There are a few ways where it doesn't happen, but essentially, like, I don't think Oregon can be ranked any lower than like 6.
Yeah, no, it'd be really, really difficult.
6, I hate it. I've got Penn State. I hate it. I hate it so much.
So I am still of the belief. and maybe I'll be proven wrong tonight or on Tuesday night, excuse me, when the playoff rankings come out. But I do think that Minnesota game is going to penalize Penn State a little bit.
Ooh, yeah.
And I also think the Notre Dame game against Army, winning by 35 in that game against a ranked opponent, like consistently just beating the dog crap out of every team they played since Northern Illinois. So I have Notre Dame at 6. I think Notre Dame kind of gets that bump.
That would actually that would actually make me feel better about that. I'm sure we see it in real time. You'd be like, you know what? You know what? Good. Good.
Good, good.
Because it's like I hadn't considered the combination of Notre Dame throttling Army, handing them their first loss, putting the Black Knights' chances of making the playoff on the brink, essentially. I think they're still like better than 10% to get in, right? Like it's
Oh
still
yeah.
yeah, like they need like some sort of chaos, but it's not they're not mathematically out of it. They're not like Ole Miss where it's pretty bad.
Yeah, Ole Miss is there's not really a path. Like there's definitely a path. There's still a lot of chaos that could happen in the G5 is really what it boils down to. Like
Yes.
we know it's going to be Tulane and Army, but Army gets that win. That's a nice ranked win. And if Boise State were to I don't know. It's actually getting a little hard for Army because like that because UNLV is probably going to be ranked ahead of Army still. And so if UNLV beats Boise State, that's probably a better win than beating Tulane. So like there's it's going to be hard, but it's not impossible. What they would really need is on Thanksgiving Day, Tulane to lose to Memphis. And that's kind of like that would be the big key for them to get in. And then yeah,
You're losing to Memphis.
losing in Memphis.
Put on my blue suede shoes and got my ass kicked by the Tigers. Yes.
That's right.
Put on my green wave shoes. There we go. So I have Notre Dame at 7.
Okay.
I am starting to come around more on the idea of like I can't have this much hate in my heart for both Penn State and Notre Dame right now. I can
Mhm.
only put it in one bucket and just try to celebrate them having doing what's required of them, not going beyond requirements. So I'm more inclined to go with Notre Dame just because like I don't know. I feel like they've actually played some good teams. They've beaten, A&M. Louisville's halfway decent. You've beaten
Mhm.
you stopped Virginia from going. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Penn State nearly lost to Minnesota.
Yeah, like it's Penn State nearly lost to Minnesota. Penn State, like what team has Penn State like reasonably blown out this season? And like you go back to what you were saying about like, you wonder if Indiana's resume is better. Like their schedule is not that uncomparable to what Indiana has done, Penn State's. And Indiana, meanwhile, has blown out every team they played except for Michigan and Ohio State. Penn State's been in a lot of close games. Like this isn't the first like close call that they've had. Like we've seen this before and like I don't know, at a certain point, we've got to use our eyes. We've got to use some reason here. And it's like, yes, a win's a win, but not all wins are created equal. They don't all look the same.
If James Franklin somehow loses to Maryland, like they should fire him on the spot. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
especially given how bad of a season Maryland is, how much ties he has to Maryland, and what the
Hmm.
significance of that loss would mean. Oh yeah, just like
Yeah, no. You can't be doing that, James.
no, it'd be a long December for him, and maybe it will be anyway. But so who do you have at 7?
I still have Penn State at 7, and the only reason is I would like I think obviously I think we it's not break reinventing the wheel to say I think Georgia's a better team than Penn State, but in this projection that I'm doing, like I have Texas winning a rematch over Georgia. And so like you're not gonna put a 3-loss Georgia team over a 1-loss Penn State team is kind of where I come down on it.
You're gonna be so wrong about that. It's gonna be amazing. They're gonna be in
I mean,
Atlanta.
look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Penn State gets depressed as hell in these rankings because Penn State is not, I just can't do it.
I think that's fine. So yeah, I'm gonna go with at 8. I have Georgia right now. I feel like they're clearly the second best team in the SEC right now. The league's being torn to shreds, and people are like trying to tear it down. I'm like, I don't think you understand what's going on here. I think people are like,
No.
the Big Ten's so much better. I'm like, nah, dude, it's lollipop land. The ACC, I've been watching the ACC and the Big 12 go at it, and I'm like they're chewing on each other's ankles, they're biting kneecaps. It's
Oh
fun.
yeah.
The Big Ten is just a bunch of just Kirby's out there, like the little pink marshmallow dude. It's just
Not
it's
smart. Kirby, the
no,
the Nintendo
yes.
character.
It's a bunch of Olimars humming and throwing candy. I think Penn State's best win is like beating Washington, like whoop-de-doo, Baz. Who cares?
Yeah, no, it's not that impressive. I don't Did you happen to see Nick Saban's comments on game day about what Caleb Downs allegedly told him? Because I'm sure Saban probably embellished it somewhat for the TV program, but on game day he said that Caleb Downs, who obviously was at Alabama and has now gone to Ohio State, said that Ohio State was not prepared for the Oregon game because the Big Ten doesn't prepare you like the SEC does. And like that's someone in the Big Ten on one of these contenders from the Big Ten talking about, yeah, we weren't prepared for a big game because in the SEC every week is basically big. In the Big Ten, that is just not the case.
Exactly. And even like over this past weekend, like while Oklahoma and Auburn have not had the seasons they've wanted, we were both higher on them, I think. We had them both being about like 8-4, 7-5
Yeah.
anyway. Like they've just they got run into the gauntlet too. Like there's talent on both of those teams. There's good coaching too, to believe it or not. I don't know to what degree Venables is a head coach. I don't know to what degree Hugh Freeze is a good person. He's not going to the good place.
No, he's definitely not.
But they'll put him in there and I think he is, and that's how that's gonna go.
He'll try to convince you he's in the good place, even if he's in the bad place.
He just has a bunch of burner phones with 5% battery. That's
Oh my God.
so who do you have at 8?
At eight, that's where I have Georgia. I have Georgia at eight. And again, I don't think there's any real argument. Like, if I'm projecting that they lose to Texas, I don't think that's going to be penal. I really don't. You have a big win over Texas already. So, like, I just don't. You're not going to drop Georgia any further than that because you're not going to drop them behind. I'll go ahead and spell it. I have Tennessee at nine. And like you're
Same.
not going to drop them behind Tennessee, a team that does not have the same resume that you do in terms of quality wins and did not make it to Atlanta in the SEC championship game.
I have Tennessee at 9 as well. So with Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, it's essentially like they're about there. They're about locks at this point.
Hmm.
Essentially, all Texas has to do is beat A&M. And
Hmm.
even if they don't, they'll be on the cutting room floor. Okay, do they get in or out? Do you want to leave that to chance? If Tennessee beats Vanderbilt, they're in.
Yeah.
And I think as long as Georgia beats Georgia Tech, it doesn't matter what happens in Atlanta, they're going to be in.
Agreed. Agreed with
If
that for
they
sure.
if they lose to Georgia Tech, then they have to win.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
I think it's pretty straightforward there. I will say though, Tennessee, like we were like this close to writing off. We wrote them off, and now they're back.
Yeah, that's just this is kind of like the zombie season. Like right when we're like I'm old enough to remember like a month ago we were like, yeah, I don't really see the path for Ole Miss unless they beat Georgia. Well, lo and behold, they wouldn't beat Georgia, and then they went and pissed down their leg and ruined that. So like it's like this season, I'm not ruling out the fact that this bracket could change dramatically before next week.
Totally. And I think our last two teams in are going to be very interesting. So at 10, I have SMU.
Okay. And I have Miami. Like it just depends on who you think's winning. Like you have them projected just based on this week. Like Miami winning the ACC championship. I have SMU. So like we're just flip-flopping there. But I do think like we are in the spot where as of right now, the ACC is in a really good spot to get two teams in. Potentially
Yes.
three. Don't see it happening, but potentially three.
Yeah, I know the Clemson of it all. And then I would say my last team in right now is Indiana. They're at
Yeah.
11.
And I'm right
So
there with you. I have Indiana at 11 as well.
I think right here, the top 12 teams were so obvious. There wasn't really any discussion. The order a little bit, but like that was a very clear delineation of who your 12 teams are.
No, 100%. Like the interestingly enough, like the outcome of the chaos that we saw this past weekend, like is actually some pretty good clarity going into rivalry week, going into the final week of the regular season. Like if things hold serve, we kind of know what this is going to be.
Yes. And we're making great time here. I think we can go a little bit further into our first four out because I think this
Yeah.
week qualifies for that. So, first team out for me, number 13 is Clemson. I
Okay.
feel that's like if they beat South Carolina, they're 10 and 2. If somebody else messes up, they're going to get in. If Miami loses, they go to Charlotte instead. And I think you'd have to win. You'd have to beat SMU to get in. But like, I really think Indiana and Clemson are the only teams in A&M are the only three teams that like could get to the conference championship game and lose and be punished for it.
Yeah, I think that's probably that sounds about right to me. And I mean, I have that projected with Miami, so like I think it does make sense for that for them. I have Clemson at 16 on my first four out because I have South Carolina at 13. And I have South Carolina at 13, my first team out because I think they beat Clemson, just point blank. Like I think Clemson's offense when they have come up against a well coached and talented defense this season, we've seen that their offense just does not work the same way that it does against in other games. And like we talked about it, South Carolina might have the defense you least want to play in the entire country. And like Clemson's defense is good, it's not great. And you throw something like Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders, and the way that rushing attack has been moving, the way Lenora Sellers has been progressing as a passer, I think Palmetto Bill might be going the Gamecocks way this week.
It might. I've got South Carolina in as at 16, just
Okay.
because at 14 and 15, I've got Alabama and Ole Miss, who they lost to head to head. So like that again, that could all change if they beat Clemson, they go ahead there. So that's
Yeah.
then I was also like contemplating, like, God, where'd I put Iowa State? Iowa State was like next up, then there's like the Tulanes and the BYUs of the world, and I'm like, I don't know that. So 13, 14, 15, 16, Clemson, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina. There we go.
And I have the same four, just flip-flopped. I have South Carolina, Alabama, Ole Miss, Clemson.
Okay, cool. I was curious about that. I was like, were you gonna throw like a group of five or a Big 12 team in there? And I guess not.
I don't quite see it because the way kind of one of my takeaways from the AP top 25 is like we might be giving the Big 12 just a little too much credit, you and I specifically. Like it's a very fun league, but like it doesn't seem like these teams are being rated quite as highly as we might rate them. And so like I think like it's going to be hard to even like even the Big 12 championship game loser, it's going to be hard for me to see them like usurping these SEC teams on the bubble that are looking for chaos to hopefully get in there. Like I just have a hard time seeing the Big 12 being the ones that are favored to do that. And the same applies to the G5. Like outside of Boise State, we've seen the G5 depressed in these rankings the entire time. Like Tulane wasn't in the first poll. Boise was probably lower than they should have been in the first poll. And then like finally got UNLV and Army in there. Like Army was 25 in the first poll as an undefeated G5 team. Like the committee is not valuing G5 teams very highly this year.
No, so I went through, looked back at my top 25. I think where did you have Arizona State ranked projected this week?
Right where I actually nailed that one. I had them at 14, which is where they came in the AP top 25.
I had them at 17, so I'm even further down than that. And I actually had Tulane ahead of them at 16. So
Yeah.
it would have been, I think I had Tulane, Arizona State, Iowa State, BYU, Texas A&M, and M, and Colorado. That's kind of how I had that. Had I put that together, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
So I guess that goes to show that, yeah, maybe the Big 12 is even further deflated than we are being inflated more than we think.
No, I definitely think that's definitely part of it. But I mean, like, I think that the picture that's been painted for us at this point is, and I mean, this is somewhat of an obvious statement, but the Big 12 is getting one team in, and like, I think the committee protects themselves to some degree by making it very clear that that was always going to be the case. With like I think there's probably a good chance that Arizona State is lower than 14 when it comes to the college football playoff top 25. Like, I think that that's a very realistic possibility because I don't think they want it to be like I don't think they want to have the conversation of should the Big 12 get two teams in. Like, yes, that's a loosely affiliated network or a loosely affiliated league with ESPN, but like, I think it's been made very clear that the Big 12 is is a one bid league.
Particularly now with the ACC clearly being a two-team league, plus Notre Dame acting as now it's essentially a three-team league.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's recap our 12 teams first four out and move on with our lives. You go
Yes,
first.
sir. All right, so I got one Ohio State, two Texas, three SMU, four Boise State, five Oregon hosting 12 Arizona State, six Notre Dame hosting 11 Indiana, seven Penn State hosting 10 Miami, eight Georgia hosting number nine Tennessee. Then I have South Carolina, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Clemson as my first four out in that order.
Ooh. Yeah. So I got Oregon at one, Texas at two, Miami at three, Boise State at four. At five, I've got Ohio State hosting 12, Arizona State. At six, I've got Penn State hosting number 11, Indiana. At seven, I've got Notre Dame hosting SMU, and then eight, Georgia hosting nine, Tennessee in a rematch. I'm sure Vol Nation's gonna love that. And the
Oh
same
yeah.
thing, they're gonna complain. And then 13, I've got Clemson, 14, Alabama, 15, Ole Miss, 16, South Carolina as my first four teams out.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I want your bracket to come to fruition just so I can see Kurt Signetti coach circles around James Franklin. That's the joy of my life that I need.
If it would have been last year, it would have already happened, and James Franklin wouldn't be coaching there anymore because he would have gone 9-3, and that's not 10-2.
That yeah, you don't if you're not driving, you're not surviving.
So 10, if you add 10 plus 2, that's 12. And if you divide it by 3, you have 4, 4, 4.
That's
Yes.
right, baby.
That was good too. I've been
We
on
are a
fire with
math
these.
podcast today. Look at us go.
This is going to be fun or painful either way. So, with us heading into rivalry week, there's not, this could happen, this could change before we finish recording today. We obviously saw three G5 coaches get fired after we recorded Monday's episode, with
Yeah.
Biff Poggi, Tom Herman, and Don Brown out. The only coach to be terminated after this past weekend was Kevin Wilson at Tulsa. And I'm like, that just sucks. Like, they have no chance.
No, Tulsa's in a bad spot. Tulsa is honestly like non-MAC division might be like one of the toughest G5 programs in the country right now to win at. Like you're in a talent-rich area, but like you're at the absolute bottom of that pecking order in that talent-rich area. And that's a really tough place to be.
You're also at the smallest school in Division One, and it's
Yeah.
private. People forget that.
Yeah,
And
I did forget it was a private school. Like you this should be an FCS program. And I'm sorry to any Tulsa fans who might be listening, but like this should probably be an FCS program.
But if they want to boost it up there with some oil money, then that would be absolutely wonderful and see the Golden Hurricanes being like a really hella good high school team. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Dude, I want to see Tulsa be good. Tulsa, like, high key, Tulsa has some of the best uniforms in the country. Like, I love Tulsa's uniforms. I love their logo. I love the way it looks on the helmet. Like, it's not a program I dislike. They just have so many disadvantages that they work with.
I was thinking about this. I don't know if you saw this earlier. So Texas State gave GJ Kinney a massive buyout just to prevent him from going to alma mater.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you probably got to do that if you're Texas State at this point.
Yes, Kevin Wilson will find a job very quickly. Like he'll go work for like Ryan Day on his staff, or honestly, if Brian Hartline got a team, he's your OC.
Yeah, I like that. That'd be really good.
But I don't know. We're gonna figure this out with hot seat stuff later. But we're gonna do 4 for 4. And what P4 coach is not going to get fired or forced retired, but should in
Okay,
his league?
I like that.
And I'm gonna let you start with the ACC and just go therapeutic.
So, wearing my wonderful North Carolina hat here, Matt Brown's got to go. And I will say that one point that was brought up by Chip Patterson of CBS Sports, who is, from the Carolina area, has deep ties there, knows some things around there. He said that we needed to go back and look at the wording of the statement that Matt Brown was saying, that Matt Brown was going to be staying past 2024, like he wasn't planning on retiring. And the point of that, what was actually said in the statement was Mac Brown is telling the locker room that he will be back in 2025. And to what Chip Patterson replied to that was, I bet he is telling people that. I bet he is saying that. So, like, there is still a chance that a move is made here. However, given how North Carolina has operated to this point with Mac Brown, I have a really hard time seeing at this point, now that they are bowl eligible, that they're going to force retire him. Like I feel like they're going to let him coach it out at least another year. And if it goes poorly, then like maybe like a message like, hey, if this goes poorly in 2025, like we're going to have to fire you. Like we can't be viable with this anymore. But like I think Mac Brown does have a little bit of autonomy in the situation, which he shouldn't at this point. And it's really frustrating as a North Carolina fan because I've said it before, I don't want to belabor the point, but like he did a lot of good work to build this program back up from where, Fedora left it and where it was when he came back to North Carolina. But some of that work is being undone. This team is better this year than I thought they were going to be, specifically what they look like early in the season, but it's still not honestly what we've had the past 2, 3, 4 seasons with Sam Howell and Drake May in the building. Like it's just a lesser version of that. Granted, the quarterback drop off is a big part of that, but you're also starting to not see them recruit at the same level. They had their highest ranked recruit flip to Southern California, USC, this past weekend. So like I think now they're outside of the top 75 in the country in terms of the 24/7 composite and team rankings and recruiting. You're seeing North Carolina, the good work that Mac Brown has done, kind of be torn down. And to save that, someone has to come in, someone who can like ignite excitement in this program again. Someone has to come in and do that, and that's not Mac Brown at this point.
That was perfectly said. I essentially, it feels like he's taken the copper piping out of the wall in the kitchen to help put a hole in the roof.
Yeah,
So,
100%, dude.
coach, we can't go to the bathroom. We'll go outside.
Yes.
I was said that's where you were going to go with this, and I totally agree. It probably needs to end after this year. It's going to be really messy next year because
Mhm.
he's going to keep doing him until he's dead. So that's just how that's going to go.
Yeah.
To pick somebody different, because I know you're going to pick this, I'm going to go Troy Taylor at Stanford.
Yeah.
I This is probably the other very logical choice here because like everybody else, even some of the struggling programs there in the ACC. Okay, Mike Norvell had a winning season not that long ago. Dave Clawson not that long ago. Um, you got Brent Pry and you got Tony Bennett, not Tony Bennett, Tony Elliott. They're both. I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
The winner of that game's going bowling. That's going to be exciting.
Hell yeah. Love to see it. Two teams that just seem like they don't want to win right now.
They would take their ball and go home. And but with like when it comes down to it with Troy Taylor, I just kind of feel that like what direction is Stanford? What are they trying to accomplish here? I feel like they're just trying to like
Yeah.
sim through the entire season and be as anonymous as possible. They've had a few interesting wins, like they beat Syracuse, they played I believe they beat Louisville too or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's good there, and then it's just a bunch of crap. And I'm just trying to figure this out because this is a when we first started writing, Stanford was awesome. You had David Shaw, and you had before that you had Jim Harbaugh. You know, you had
Mhm.
Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey. This isn't it. This isn't good.
No, and like we talk about programs that have like a lot of academic restrictions and like the problems that that creates, and Stanford is certainly one of them, but it also can't be like a reason to always be bad either, if that makes sense. Because we've seen this program be good. We've seen Michigan they won a national championship last year with not as strict of restrictions, but still pretty strict restrictions in terms of academics, what you're able to do at Michigan as a recruiter. Like we've seen Notre Dame consistently be in the playoff mix. We've seen Vanderbilt level up this year. Like we've seen these academic institutions be able to figure it out. And like that's whether that's investment in the football program, which I don't think there's a lot of currently at Stanford, but like it's possible to be figured out. And whatever they're doing right now, maybe they're happy with Troy Taylor because they don't want like there's no one wanting to invest in this football program. So like what's the point? What's the point of like trying to like re-up with a new head coach or something like that? Maybe it's just not going to happen. But at the same time, like we know what the upside of Stanford is, and maybe that is depressed a little bit in the transfer portal era, but this is a team that still should be competing for bowl games every single season.
Yeah, you lose the big game to Cal. Cal is going bowling now, and again, academically very similar. You
Yeah.
see, UCLA is dead to rights. They're playing the best that they can do. That's a very tough school. We've seen Wake Forest be good recently. We see Duke being pretty good right now. Northwestern's every couple of years they have a really good team. Like the whole academic thing, like I'm kind of just over it because you can
Yeah.
get anybody into your school. It's just keeping them there.
Yeah, 100%. And like again, like I understand the struggles of it, but it does feel like right now it's being used as like the excuse for we're always going to be bad, and that's just not the case.
I think that's fair. Where do you want to go with it for the Big Ten?
The Big Ten, this was one of the tougher ones for me to. I think this was probably the toughest of the P4 conferences to figure out. I went with Kirk Ferentz because I don't think he's going to retire and I don't think he's going to get fired.
Yeah,
And like I do think that to some degree we did see Iowa take a step forward when they went to Brendan Sullivan and we saw this team start to go. go like cook a little bit. But obviously injuries have now taken Brendan Sullivan out of the equation. So the Iowa offense is back to being the Iowa offense to some degree. They did get a win this past week, so I don't want to, crap on them too much. But I also think the fact that Brendan Sullivan wasn't starting the season, you think of what this Iowa season could be if that had been the case. This could be a team that was potentially competing to like with that defense, with a competent offense, a team that's potentially knocking on the door of a college football playoff spot, like making that race a little bit more interesting in terms of the mid tier, the middle class of the Big Ten. And it just feels like Kirk Ferentz is always going to fall back into old habits. And at a certain point, much like Mac Brown, you need to make a change to like really capitalize on the opportunities that I think are not being that are untapped right now at Iowa.
That's the clear and right obvious answer. It's pure Stockholm syndrome at this point. It's become he's been coaching there longer since he's been coaching there since the Clinton administration, dude.
Yeah,
It's
right.
been,
Exactly.
like his previous job was with the Baltimore Ravens, and I think they were in what year three as a franchise.
Yeah, they barely existed at that point.
Vinny Testaverde was throwing balls, and he didn't know what team he was throwing it to, but he was throwing balls.
That's the Vinny Testaverde experience, of course.
God bless. Yeah, Kirk Ferentz is like the right answer. I'll go with the obvious one for me, and I'll go with the other slightly unobvious one.
Okay.
The obvious one's Lincoln Riley because I feel that
Yeah.
like unless he's willing to be physical and play Big Ten football, we're going to continue to see stuff like this. Jaden Maeva has been a lot better at quarterback than I anticipated, but you also beat Nebraska, who was just basically trying to carry its dead carcass to a bowl game, which it did. But
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations there. It's I don't know, I feel like it's the USC going to the Big Ten like hurts them considerably. They need to get a blue collar head coach, and he's not that.
No, he's definitely not. And like I do think that makes sense. And I do think like now that they're bowling, are you gonna fire him? I don't quite see it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. And this one might shock you, and you'll probably disagree. I've got some concerns about Luke Fickle pretty considerably.
I I'm warming up to your side of that. I think that go ahead and unpack what you got to say and I'll respond to it.
This is just basically me to say, like, not just Lincoln Riley. Hey, it's I did not like it when he left Cincinnati for Wisconsin. I'm like, are you really ready for this? I think he valued that job to the same degree as Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a much tougher job. And you think you could go in there and you could be physical and line meet him to death. And then he goes in there and he brings an air raid offense. And I'm like, when has, outside of the one Russell Wilson era, when have you like ever seen Wisconsin be defined by throwing the ball? It just kind of seems like you're running counter to what makes it work. Like you're trying to swim upstream here.
Yeah.
I think I think this year with, okay, let's go to transfer portal quarterback. Okay, he gets hurt. We got some guy named Braden Locke out there. What's happened over the last 2 years is it's created doubt.
Hmm.
And Luke Fickle was deemed to be a sure thing, and Wisconsin has insane standards. I mean, the guy rid of Paul Chryst. Paul Chryst was one of them. He played there. He won there. Um, the guys before him, like Brett Bielema, had a great success there. Barry Alvarez had tremendous success there. The Gary Anderson bit was we forgot about that,
It
but for the
happened,
most,
but it
it
happened.
did. I just kind of feel that like Luke Fickle's not going to be let go at the end of the season, but like if they do this again, I don't think they can do year four.
So why my tune has changed a little bit is I was obviously at the time of the hire, I was higher on Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin because I just thought he's a damn good coach. And like, yes, Wisconsin does have more challenges than the elites of the Big Ten, but it is still a good program that you can win at. We've seen it time and time again. But I think what really has changed my tune is not just it's partially like the Phil Longo air raid thing, which I thought had the potential to work because I thought Phil Longo was good enough to be able to do that. Obviously, I was wrong. I mean, in fairness, I would have liked to seen what this offense looked like with Tyler Van Dyke running it, but like you don't have the depth, and you need depth in college football at this level to consistently win if you're going to try to deploy a new system, particularly a change. And that's where I come down to it. It feels like when you look back at the success that you just outlined, whether it was under Paul Chris, whether it was under Burt, whether it was under Barry Alvarez, it's been pretty formulaic. That's how Wisconsin's won football games and won as many as they have is Okay, we're gonna get the line meat that is available in our area in the Midwest, and then we're gonna run the dang ball, and we're gonna play good damn defense, and like that's how we're gonna win games. I was at least a little optimistic because that's somewhat Luke Fickle's DNA. Like it seems like Luke Fickle would fully buy into that. To this point, he hasn't. He's tried to tweak too much. He's tried to change too much. And so like I'm not going to say that Luke Fickle deserves to be like I'm not probably as strong on you that like he needs to go right now and like he's not going like I think we agree he's not going to, but like
No.
I'm not strong enough to say he needs to go right now, but if we go in the next year and we see him still trying to tweak things and still not just go with the formula and maybe upgrade that formula a little bit, then I think we are going to see like that Luke Fickle hot seat talk really heat up because this is a place you can win and you're not winning. And that's really what it boils down to.
The other factor is his 1 year as the interim head coach at Ohio State. They were like 6-7. So
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. Maybe
you
he's just
see,
like a great G5 coach and not a P4 coach. Maybe that's really what it boils down to.
may be the case. I'm interested to see where you go with the Big 12, and I'll react.
I am going with Dave Aranda at Baylor. Congratulations, you had a great season, and I'm very proud of you, Dave Aranda. I still don't think he's a good head coach. I really don't, because like you look at what Dave Aranda specifically tried to do to save his job because he knew he was going to be on the hot seat coming into the 2024 season. He went and got DeQuan Finn. That worked terribly. DeQuan Finn was not ready for the P4 level. And like I thought he was, and I made the same mistake as Dave Aranda. I'm not being compensated the way Dave Aranda is. I can assure you of that. So like my mistake in misreading that is not the same thing. The other part of it is like you go back to the switch to Robertson, who has been in the program for some time already. And to me, what we're seeing from Baylor is more of in my opinion, it is more of a testament to Jake Spavital, their offensive coordinator. I think he is a perpetually underrated offensive mind in college football right now. And I think we're seeing the fruits of his labor. Like this Baylor defense is still not good. That's Dave Aranda's side of the ball. Like everything good we're seeing from Baylor right now feels like separated from what Dave Aranda is doing. And like, again, he's not going to get fired. Baylor's going to a bowl game and like they still have a chance to win the Big 12 at this point. But like,
That's wild.
yeah, I mean, so does West Virginia in the wildest possible scenario. But, shouts to the Big 12 for being absolutely badass crazy. But, like, I do think that everything that's going well for Baylor feels not like it's not Dave Aranda's doing at this point.
Yeah, I forgot about Spavital. I'm like, yeah, I know he failed at Texas State as their head coach, but like he's probably going to be a head coach in the Big 12 at some point. I can kind of feel like
Yeah.
that redemption arc is on the way. So I've got two. My one being mean and one being a little bit further down the line. Scott Satterfield. What are we doing? What are we
You
effing
know I'm
doing?
on board, dude. This is an anti-Satterfield household over here.
No, no, I could marry into a Satterfield family and I would still hate them.
100%. I pulled the Aaron Rodgers and just never see my family again.
That's who needs family? You've got friends in your head or in a hole. A dark hole.
Right.
And he thinks he wants to play football again, man. He just needs to go grow shrooms with Jake Plummer and be happy.
Dude, just join Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan experience and just deal with it.
Yeah, that would do something, all right. But I would say it's got to be Satterfield again. I think you were like what 5-2 at some point. You've lost like 3 or 4 games in a row, including to West Virginia, a game you basically handed to the Mountaineers.
Mhm.
You basically helped get Neil Brown to probably keep his job. We'll see what Bryn Baker wants to do after this next weekend's game. But with Cincinnati, it's like this is a guy that's had ample head coaching experience. He's been at Louisville for 4 or 5 years. He had been at App State for a very long time. This shouldn't be. I understand that Cincinnati is trying to make the leap up there into like Power
Mhm.
Four, but you were a Power Six team back in the day. You were in the Big East. This shouldn't be an
Yeah.
insurmountable climb. Like there should be something on like a old MacBook computer or a floppy disk of how to do this.
Right.
And Satterfield, I just kind of feel like there's no juice here. There's no substance. I can't see. I'm looking at everybody else that just came to the Big 12 and they're doing nothing. Willie Fritz has Houston playing hard.
Yeah.
Arizona's trying to figure it out with Brent Brennan. It's his first year, but like Cincinnati, it's like, come on, you gotta be better than this.
No, I'm with you on this, and like it felt like a weird hire for Cincinnati to begin with. I think we said that at the time. Like it just felt like Cincinnati was looking for a name as opposed to like the right fit or like a coach who frankly has done better. Like I felt like Satterfield, like I think we've seen it already with Jeff Brom at alma mater. Like Satterfield perpetually underperformed at Louisville, in my opinion. And like I just, it just feels like the same thing happening at Cincinnati. Like you talk about like the games this season, like they just got their doors blown off by Kansas State, a Kansas State team whose offense looked like fundamentally broken coming into that game, and they hung 41 on you. Like that's kind of where Cincinnati is right now.
Kind of makes you wonder if Luke Fickle had any patience. That would have been,
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah. The other one, I'm actually going to put this in there. I'm concerned about Mike Gundy.
Yeah, it might have run its course. It might have run its course.
It's like to the point where like not necessarily it's not the same thing as like Lane Kiffin. It's like, come on, man, this is your year to take advantage of everything in your favor, and you didn't do it. And not only
No.
did you not do it, you didn't even show up, man. You went hunting rabbits the whole year. You're going to go 0 for the Big 12. You have the T-Boone Pickens trust. You've had a tremendous success here. You've been here since 2005. You're a legend. You are the most important person to this program's history.
Yep.
And it's kind of getting to like the Mac Brown you're tearing away at the fabric of, and it sucks.
Yeah, no, it's not good. And like I think we've kind of seen this over the past few years because like you look back at the history of success that Mike Gundy has built in Stillwater, and like to me, when I think of that, the hallmarks of Oklahoma State has been quarterback play and wide receiver play. Like it's been an offense that just is able to air it out. And we've seen them get away from that. And granted, Ollie Gordon's a fantastic player, and you should probably run the ball when you have Ollie Gordon, but like you're also sacrificing those other things. Like they don't have difference makers on the outside. They don't have a difference maker at quarterback. Like they do not have these things that have made Oklahoma State proud. And like at the end of the day, that comes back to Mike Gundy. Like you're not recruiting that.
Just put Gunner out there. Let's see what happens at this point. And you've got yourself a bad football team. Let's move on to the SEC to close this segment up. Who is it for you?
I think it's despite what we saw this past week, it's still Brent Venables for me. Like I just don't see it working. Like we saw it. I think we were willing to write it off in the Big 12 as a transitionary period because he did come in at a weird time. Like the Oklahoma already knows they're going to the SEC. Oklahoma already knows what's happening there. And then you have Lincoln Riley poaching the absolute hell out of that roster. So like I understand every reason why we could make excuses there because it made sense. It's not getting any better. You brought in Jackson Arnold to be a difference maker, and to beat Alabama, you don't trust him throwing the football. Like that's a problem. That's something that like you that looks to me that looks like you whiffed on Jackson Arnold to this point. Like he's not what you thought he was going to be as a force multiplier for what this program could do. The defense is still good, which I think, it's Brent Venables. That's kind of what we expect. But like and to win at Oklahoma, you need to have offense to match that. And like it's just not been there. Different coordinators haven't really like even with Jeff Levy and Dylan Gabriel, it was not cooking at the level it should have been.
Yes, the absolute correct answer here is Brent Venables. The one to be mean. I'm going to be mean, and then I'm going to be forward looking.
Okay.
Means Sam Pittman because even though they're going bowling, it just kind of feels like, oh, he's such a nice guy. We're going to keep perpetuating this. And you're getting essentially into some Mark Rick nonsense, who's now apparently back with the Georgia program to basically take some pressure off of Bobo because Rick is a hell of a play caller.
I mean, you know what? That's probably a really good thing for Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. People forget that about Rick. Rick was outstanding at FSU back in the day.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like there were years where he was outstanding at Georgia. He just had some questionable decision making at times.
Some terrible defenses, yes.
Yes, correct.
But it's Sam Pittman because it's like at this point, like Arkansas ceilings occasionally 8-4. You beat Texas one time. You're doing cartwheels in the streets to finish like it's eighth place. At some point, it's like maybe that's good enough, I guess, for Arkansas at that point. But for the amount of resources and the big pocketed boosters, whether that be from the Walton Penners, whether that be from the Joneses, whether that be from the Tysons, there's just the Clintons, if you will. However, there's so many people in that state that
Yeah.
want to make this thing so good. Like, I'm not saying you need to be Alabama, but like Alabama, like what's the difference between Birmingham and Little Rock? Not a lot. Birmingham's a little bit bigger,
I don't want to go to either city, I can assure you of
but
that.
but it's like if try to be Alabama, try to get there at some point. And Alabama's not about being nice; they're about winning games.
Yeah, 100%. Like it again, I like Sam Pittman, so it does feel mean, but like he's gotten a lot of chances at this point. Like we're on your like third, second chance at this point, and it just feels like it's not. It's been on a steady decline. Maybe it's like plateauing at this point, but like plateauing's not good enough for Arkansas. Like I don't think Arkansas should be happy with that.
No, no, I don't think so either, and I don't think Kentucky should be happy with Mark Stoops either. I feel like right now with they're the Iowa of the SEC, and once they got rid of divisions, they were the most hurt team by that.
Yeah,
Mark Stoops is a hell of a recruiter. He's a hell of a defensive mind, but like it's so hit and miss offensively with him. Like unless he has Liam Cohen or Will Levis, the offense can't do anything. And
yeah.
Bush Hamden's pretty good. Bush Hamden was put into a very difficult situation. It's like, oh, you want to leave alma mater and Ash and Ginty and either Malachi Nelson or Maddox Madsen for Brock Vandegrift, who throws with absolutely no touch, the touch of Colin Kaepernick, just zinging darts.
Dude, sometimes you just gotta rip darts. Shouts to Coach Sig.
But it's like I'm sitting here with this and I'm like, what if you hired John Summerall?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you think Neil Brown could do better than this? I mean, I
I,
don't know.
I'm still questioning whether Neil Brown's a good coach.
I just kind of feel like it just needs like a reboot. I think Summerall could come in there and he could
Oh yeah.
I don't know how.
I think Summerall could have like a literally like I just mentioned him, but like a Signetti type effect on Kentucky, like where like you get him to bring his some of his guys to Kentucky. Get like someone who has succeeded at every stop that he's been at and done so immediately. Like I think it could. I think people in Lexington could be really shocked at what that could look like.
You just get Tim Couch. You want to be the OC?
Yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be absolutely sick.
Andre Woodson up in the booth calling shots. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. We're cooking with gas now.
You get the power of Jared Lorenzen on your side. They got like a little shrine. They dedicate the OC room to him. The hefty lefty Pillsbury
They just
Doughboy Academy.
they just get like a Pillsbury Doughboy statue and throw a 22 jersey on it. That'd be sick.
Oh, that'd be sick. And when they ask Jared Lorenzen what he wants to eat for Thanksgiving, he says, "Do Host, do Host."
That's right.
We've already kind of talked about this earlier, but this is a pretty good topic here. Cody, do Haas or do Haas? Will the ACC be getting multiple teams into the playoff this year?
I'm going Duhas 1S, and I think that it's not a guarantee. Like there are worlds where it doesn't happen, but I think that they are set up super advantageously for that to happen. Like the fact that SMU is now at 9, if they were to lose the ACC championship game to a Miami, if Miami wins against Syracuse in the final week of the regular season and they both go in there at 11-1, like I think the loser of that game is still going to be in the playoff. But then like if something were to happen and that were to get knock them out, Clemson is now very much advantageously in an at-large position, especially if they, like you said, if they beat South Carolina, that's a really quality win based on what the South Carolina team has looked like, based on where South Carolina is going to be ranked. And so they're going to have a shot as a two-loss team, as a who didn't play in a conference championship game, to simply just get in as an at-large with that win.
Let me put it this way: if Penn State were to lose to Maryland and Clemson beats South Carolina, they take Penn State's spot immediately.
Yeah, 100%. They absolutely should. Clemson's a better team than Penn State right now.
Yes, it's like I'm not saying there's a chance that three get in. Like we would need a little bit more chaos, but like right now, SMU is probably in the best spot of any of them because they finished with Cal,
Yeah.
who's going to have a letdown after winning the Stanford game. And again, this is like a rivalry of sorts for travel purposes. This is called like meet you halfway there, bud.
Yeah, that's right. They should play it in like what, like Denver or something like that.
Honestly, play it in Tulsa. Play it in Tulsa Stadium. Play it on Route
There
66.
there we go. Love it.
The Dr. Manhattan Bowl.
Oh my God.
Didn't have that there for rivalry week. We will be having that coming out soon. I don't know. Do you know the date for that yet?
Either tomorrow or sorry, either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure which one yet.
Okay, cool. So that will be out there. We'll definitely talk about that a little bit on Thursday show for we're gonna be recording Wednesday because Thanksgiving is kind of what's happening this week.
It'd be like that. It'd be
It'd
like
be
that.
yeah, but I'm right there with you. This is Duhast 1S as well. The math is it feels more likely that the ACC gets two teams in than the SEC gets four or five.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, like, I mean, that wasn't the case a week ago. Like, but the SEC really shot itself in the foot, whereas the ACC holding serve. I'm not gonna like, if you look at the final score of Miami Wake Forest, it looks like Miami beat the brakes off of them. They scored 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, which again tells me that Miami has not fixed a lot of the troubling trends that I've seen from Miami this entire year, but you won. And you can beat Syracuse because Syracuse is an incredibly volatile team. So like you go out there, you beat Syracuse and like you're taking care of business. And like I don't see SMU struggling with Cal. Clemson's the only like wild card because like I said earlier, I do see that like I think South Carolina is the better team between those two right now. But Clemson can still win that game.
For sure. And I would say Clemson gets in basically if they beat South Carolina and if Louisville beats Kentucky. I think that and if Georgia beats Georgia Tech, that all helps them out considerably. And those are all very real possibilities. But at that point, you're probably going to be in that spot that SMU was in. Like, God, can we please get in? And they're just not quite
Yeah.
there. They keep knocking on the door. No one's home.
Someone's finally home. Shouts to the pony. We're ponying up around here.
We are ponying up here. And I don't know if he likes to pony up, but he might as well. Let's do some good bowl. Let's talk about the GOAT. Petros Papadakis with the
What a
abs.
guy.
What a guy, what a legend. I almost wanted to put this in there for like our reaction show with 3 yards and a cloud of punt on Saturday, but it was so good from Friday. We have to talk about it. It
We
was
do. We do.
okay. I'll try to break this down as best as I can in Buhler form. So
Okay.
UNLV is playing at San Jose State in the rain. It's a mess out there in San Jose. And UNLV is trying to punt and the ball's wet. The ball is getting rained on. Barry Odom is screaming himself, Tom, cough and purple. I need a new ball. The ball's wet. And Petros is just talking he's like, he's got a wet ball. We need to go hit the wet ball.
He's got a web ball.
And then some dude walks over there with like this sleeve. It looks like he's carrying about like a dozen Domino's pizzas, pulls out a wet ball. And they're sitting there, and Petros is like calling the game. He's like, the ball's getting wet. It's getting wet again. Like, what are they doing?
Just
So
snap it.
it delayed the game by like a good 3 minutes. They snapped the ball. It goes right over the punter's head, and they were like only punting from like their own like 40 or their own 40. The ball goes back like some 60 yards for like a safety, and it was Petros just like should have gone with the ball.
Should have gone with the web ball. You thought about it too much. I mean, just incredible stuff. Like we obviously have an affinity for Petros. He's an absolute dude. Any game that Petros is calling, we want to be a part of. But like, I also think that it's something we don't get nearly enough from broadcasting crews, whether that's anywhere in college, basically, and particularly in the NFL as well. We just don't see it a lot. But like someone who's like actually very like comfortable enough in their own skin to criticize, to poke fun, to like do all the things that like we want to see, like how fans talk about college football, quite frankly. Like Petros, I think, appeals to us because, you know, we talk about college football a lot every given week on this here program and on fansided.com. But we also like we do that pretty irreverently, and like there's such a buttoned up nature to broadcasting that like there aren't many broadcasters who talk about the game like you would talk about it with your friends. Petros is one of those people. Petros talks about the game that exact way, and like this is a perfect example of it. Like you can just imagine sitting there with one of your buddies watching that UNLV San Jose State game and being like, oh, maybe they should have used the wet ball, like that's just something you would say to your buddies.
Thinking about this. So like one of the underrated like influences for the show is the Pedro Money show. Just the
Oh
the
yeah.
vibes of what that's about is kind of like what we try to do. We just like the idea of it. We listen to it a little bit, but not a lot. It's
Yeah,
but Matt. So Matt Money Smith calls Chargers games. He's the voice of the Chargers. He's the West Durham for the Chargers.
yeah.
Could you imagine? So he's doing play by play, and Petros is doing commentary for Fox, occasional studio work, and he works his ass off and does a great job. They don't even send him to games half the time.
And if they do, they give them like worst travel schedule possible. Like, hey, do you want to go to San Jose on a Friday night?
How would you like to go to Logan, Utah on Friday night?
That's right, exactly. A Friday night in November, no less. Like, God, you know where I don't want to be on a Friday night in November? Logan, freaking Utah.
But anyway, like they should have like the Petros and Money like pot like broadcast. Like they do a West Coast game and then they do the Chargers game and they just do both.
Just make it the Petros and Money Bowl. Let's get it for bowl season. Like it's a little treat for us, like to
Oh
rival
yeah,
the Pop Tarts Bowl.
absolutely. It's a Mountain West team versus a Big 12 team. Let's go.
That'd be sick. Yes, absolutely. Sign us up.
And then you play in you play where the LA Galaxy play. You play in that stadium.
Oh, 100%. Got to be in a soccer stadium. It has to be.
I don't even know where LAFC plays, but like yeah, play like Dignity Health Park Stadium. Play there.
Absolutely. And like if they want to go more north, play it in like the Sounders Stadium or the Portland Timbers Stadium.
Play in Providence Park, man. That would be unbelievable.
Yes. Need it.
You go play a BC place where like the BC Lions play. Like we are north of the
Yeah.
border.
We get like at least 15 minutes of Petros like complaining about customs, I guarantee it.
Did you get him to play at like T-Mobile Park up there in Seattle? Like
Yes.
not even Century League. Like you play where the Mariners play.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God.
And he starts going into soliloquy about Norm Chow's disdain for Pete Carroll and his Pete Carroll voice.
Oh my God. Look, we just created $1 million ideas. We expect royalties.
You don't even know.
You don't even know.
Uh, I think the most like Petros thing besides this that intersect within work was no when Mike Bone was let go and he was like quoted in the article like yeah this guy's an absolute turnback.
I've never hated someone more. Thank God.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is right. So Mike Bone's like walking around to the sidelines and he's like talking. Oh, these people are really nice. He's like it's really nice seeing have the alumni around here. And Petros goes like, they're on Clay Helton staff. They work here.
They, they have a job
You
for
pay
you.
them.
You are their boss, ostensibly.
And I don't know if we're gonna valet park cars here, but we're gonna pour one out and we're gonna go bowl and wrap up the show here.
Yes,
I've been on
sir.
fire with these transitions today. Glare is still here. I feel like very ethereal because
Oh yeah.
when you're in
You're
the
like an angel.
when you're in the Auburn podcast bedroom, this is what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So much purple in here. I'm so scared. I'm so afraid.
Hey, I'm a big guy. I'm a big fan of purple, so I'm a
I
fan.
know. I know. That's where you're like, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about the glare. There's enough purple in here for me to overcome this. It's fine.
That's right. I was soothed.
Okay, we got to pour one out for one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. TIN 10 teams.
10 teams.
Let's pour one out for Arizona. I was afraid of this when Brennan got hired. I knew there was going to be a transitional period. You still have Fafita, you still have McMillan. But at the end of the day, you're still Arizona, and your record is flipped with ASU. And hopefully it works out for the fine folks in Tucson. But this is not, we should have saw this coming, and we didn't. And we wanted to believe in Santa Claus, and Santa Claus was looking for your mom last night.
Yeah. I'm worried about Arizona long term because McMillan's going to the NFL draft. I have a sneaking suspicion that with McMillan gone, that Fafita is probably hitting the portal. We know that Arizona is not doing particularly well financially. That's why they hired Brent Brennan as a cheaper option. It's probably not going to go well here in the near future for the Wildcats.
No, not at all. We're going to pour one out for the Houston Cougars. Got off to a miserable start. They're playing a lot better for Willie
Yeah.
Fritz. he took the bag. I get it. And maybe he'll take him to a bowl game in the next 3 years and then he'll retire. But thank God for getting that bag there, Willie. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, get your money. I mean, like I will say, like of a lot of these teams that we're going to talk about today, like I feel probably better about Houston than I do some of them long term, than most of them long term. Just because like I
Yes.
think like we've seen the improvement already start to happen as he starts being able to get his fingerprints more on the program. I think it's only going to trend up from here.
I always blank on their quarterback's name. He's been playing pretty good since they went to
Zion
him.
Chris.
It's young Chris from Donovan Smith. Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's been playing pretty good and stuff. We're gonna pour one out for the Kentucky Wildcats. This is a team I thought was going to go 7-5. Now they can only go 5-7, and that requires them beating Louisville, which I don't think they're going to do. I told everybody how much Brock Vandergriff is not good, and people didn't want to listen to me. And I was so effing right. Y'all suck.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about Kentucky. It's not great. It's not good.
It's not good. And it's not good there for the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Bulldog.
We love a Bulldog, but not Louisiana Tech. Not getting it done this year.
No, Sonny Cumbie might be asked to leave.
Yeah.
You lost Arkansas, that put them bowl eligible. So I was gonna say this about Antonio while we were going getting sushi afterwards. I saw you and Antonio walking on the belt line at a bunch of Blazers with a bunch of drunk Georgia Tech looking people, and some guy goes, Antonio, the Painted Park's over there. They were pointing the absolute wrong spot over there, and Antonio goes, Bulldog.
Yeah, the Georgia Tech fans did not like the Bulldog, and I had to have a talk with Antonio after the fact and be like, those are anti-Bulldogs, and he said, Bulldog? And very very sad. Got very sad that he had been hanging out with people who are anti-Bulldog.
Because we were going to ride scooters and Rosemary was going to ride around on her little scooter granny cart that she loves. So we decided to go home and she drove by all and she barked.
She's got a bark, and he was like, Bulldog, got very excited.
I don't know if they found Panda Park, but they found something better, friendship or love or
That's right.
shame, either one.
No shame. Never found any shame.
And speaking of no shame, Maryland Terrapins, they got to point out for them.
Yeah, no
Hashtag
shame at all.
turtle up, man. Uh, there's a chance Mike Locksley might get fired before we finish recording here.
Yeah, I think we might be done here with Locks. Like he's another guy who's going to catch on and be great for someone's staff in the P4. Like that's going to happen. It's not a this isn't the end of Mike Locksley's future, but like this thing has run its course.
It's the end for locks, and it's not the end of locks for me because I would put some locks in a bagel after this. This is gonna be so good, dude. This stuff's
Hell yeah.
awesome. Yes, we're gonna pour one out for the Northwestern Wildcats. Not all is good in Azkaban. David Braun, Shea Face, not a good time. They gotta let him ride it out before like Ryan Field opens. I've seen the renderings for it. It looks so cool, but like I just feel bad for him and this team right now. They're getting investment. This guy seems to be a good head coach. It's what a waste of a year, man. I feel so bad
Yeah.
for him.
It's I mean it's a tough situation. This goes beyond like academic restrictions or anything like that. This is just Northwestern's always had a hard time geographically recruiting in the Big Ten. Like we've seen it time and time again. And I think we kind of need to I think like last year could have been the pop year for Northwestern, but there was so much turmoil and so much turnover that like having the success they did was honestly their pop year. But like we know Northwestern, it's cyclical. We're gonna have two or three bad years and then we're gonna pop. We're gonna have two or three bad years and then we're gonna pop. But the pop wasn't as big as it has been in years past for Northwestern, and like I think that makes this look a lot worse.
I know, man. I feel bad for him. Maybe they'll pop again when the stadium is popping in 26.
Hell yeah, that'd be sick.
That'd be cool. What's not sick is the Old Dominion Monarchs gonna pour one out for them.
Yeah.
Don't really have much to add there other than like I always kind of felt like when they were one of the first movers from like FCS to the group of five, they'd have a little bit more momentum. But like
Yeah.
James Madison's taking their shine in the Royalty Bowl. That's what it's called.
No, and yeah, I mean it absolutely has though, because like JMU making the jump to the FBS level, they're now like the power in that area, in that geographical area, in the G at the G5 level. Like now you're not just competing with the P4 teams that are recruiting in your local area, but now you're also competing with a better G5 program. Like that's it's not a good spot to be in.
Just get Taylor Heineke and Justin Verlander to build this thing up, man. That's
There
what
you
we
go.
need. Let's
That's
go with
right.
that. Kent Bazemore too. I think he's also an ODU love. There you go. That's
I
a hell
think
of a
that's right.
recruit.
No, no, no,
That's
no. Kent Bazemore VCU or ODU?
I think he was ODU, if I'm not mistaken.
I watched him. So he was at they're in the CAA in basketball, which is what UNCW is in. And so I used to watch Kent Bazemore play at Trask Coliseum. Let's see. He okay, you're right. Old Dominion. Good call. Good call by you.
I'm so on fire right now. And speaking of on fire, that's kind of what we got to do for that's why I got to pour one out for UCF. Yes.
Yeah.
Gus Malzahn's cooked. That this thing is so bad. God, who did he even hire? Who did he even bring in?
I really don't know at this point. At this point, I don't know who you hire to fix this. I think you could go a lot of different directions. And I think that's why it's kind of hard to nail down the perfect hire because I thought when Gus got hired, it was a weird move for Gus and for the program. Like quite frankly, like it felt like they were just trying to get a name. Whereas we've seen it. This is a job where if you're working schematically, like with an actual scheme and not whatever the hell the Gus bus is running out, like you can have success. And they need to go hire an offensive coordinator. Like honestly, you mentioned it earlier. Hire Spavs. I think Spavs would work perfectly at UCF.
That'd be awesome. They got to get an OC, a guy who has a playbook that's more than just like an Novocaine six plays.
Yes, 100%.
We're also doing corn on Wednesday for Thursday. Not that we really listen to corn at all, but that's we have to. It's
Got
fine
to do
for
it.
corn.
It has to be
Got
done.
to. It has to be done, and it has to be done here for Kyle Whittingham at Utah. I got to pour one out there. They lost. They're 4-7. I think they play what UCF this weekend. Just a really sad game. I bet you Kyle Whittingham is going to retire after this, and Morgan Scalley is going to take over.
I think you're absolutely right. I was just about to say the same thing. Like it just feels like Kyle Whittingham doesn't want to be there anymore.
He's like that. I think you should. I don't want to be me anymore. I don't want to be around.
I don't want to be around.
And I don't know if he still wants to be around. I think he still does, but pouring out for Wake Forest and Dave Clawson, they got to figure this out pretty quickly. They got to. He's a great head coach. He's got tremendous staying power. He needs one more reboot, and if he does, I think Wake Forest will give him that. But he's got to have like one more like really good run. If he does that, he'll go to the College Football Hall of Fame.
No, agreed. And I think honestly, I think it for Wake Forest, as it often does, it comes down to the quarterback position. Like we've seen Bachmeier plenty. Hank Bachmeier's not a good college quarterback, and like you brought him in to kind of be like a veteran stopgap in this, and like it's gone poorly. Like you just need to go find someone who you can come in and have a lot of confidence in running the slow mesh, and I think he'll be fine if you're Wake Forest.
I trust your mailman who just dropped something off to run the slow mesh better than Hank Bachmeier. He was so smooth.
100%.
Yeah, that's what we got for a pour one out. And we got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 teams that are going bowling, 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 bowling.
That's right.
I think it's my turn to be an ass.
Okay, let's make you an ass then, because Sam Pittman and the Rack of Ribs at Arkansas, they are.
Bowling, 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 bowling. Yes, sir. They're bowling, 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 bowling.
Probably shouldn't save his job, but it might just. We talked about Bill O'Brien being a great hire for Boston College, and look at him, the BC Eagles. They are.
Bowling, 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 bowling. No Thomas Castellanos, but we'll see what happens.
They're fine. They're going bowling, baby. Speaking of going bowling, our guy, Antonio's guy, Justin Wilcox, won the game with a fourth quarter comeback. Fernando Mendoza, what a guy! But the Cal Golden Bears, they are.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
Oh, love it, love it. Um, Billy Napier, safe, pulling off upsets left and right, takes down Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, ruins their college football playoff hopes. But more importantly for the Gators, they are.
Bowling, 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 bowling. It's still Florida. It's still Florida, but congratulations, Billy.
Look, man, Billy's done a hell of a job with this
Yeah,
team. We gotta say that, man. It's been impressive. I know you hate everything about the being of that program, but they did a good job this year.
they're gonna probably beat us next year. I can feel it. I can feel it already. It's fine.
Unfortunately, it
Yeah,
feels like we might be trending there.
yeah.
A program that I do not think would beat Georgia, but is doing their thing, has 6 wins. That is the Fresno State Bulldogs. They are.
Bulldog. Bowling, 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 bowling. Bulldog.
Hey,
Okay.
shouts to Fresno though. Losing Jeff Tedford and still being able to make a bowl game, like this is a team that has gotten better as the year has gone on. They were pretty much a doormat early in the season, so good to see for them.
They may keep their head coach, their interim head coach. It's probably not as much as like ECU, but like I blank on their names, but good job, guys.
Yeah, we love an interim around here. Basically an interim and everything but name. Sherrone Moore and the Michigan Wolverines somehow, despite not having an offense, they are.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
Yeah, they don't deserve the full treatment, not at all. You might honestly just do the same for this one because the Nebraska Cornhuskers, after being stuck on 5 wins for a month, they finally got their 6th win. And Nebraska, for the first time since, don't fact check me on this, I think 1940, are going.
Instead of putting five on it, they're going bowling, 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 bowling. And Matt Rule's doing cartwheels in an Omaha food court and split his pants. Doesn't
That's
care.
that's right. With the upset win over Alabama, Brent Venables has the Oklahoma Sooners.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
That's right. Then we're gonna leave the power conferences for a little bit, and we're gonna go to South Alabama because the Jaguars are.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
Yes, sir. Um,
Major Applewhite, way to go, bud. That was impressive.
yeah, dude. South Alabama is a lot better than I thought. I thought this was going to be one of the a G5 team that really took a big step back, and shouts to them for getting it going. Another tough situation with the late departure of Kane Womack. Um, This one actually surprised me that they got to this point, considering the Byron Brown injury. But shouts to Alex Galesh in South Florida because the Bulls, they are.
Bowling, bowling.
Hell yeah, they are. Um, Much to probably Jen Cohen's chagrin, Lincoln Riley and USC got the win in their rivalry game over UCLA, and the Trojans are.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Our penultimate team, my boy, my first love. Jeff Traylor has the UTSA Roadrunners, despite not actually being a very good football team, but they are.
Bowling, 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 bowling. Meep, meep.
Meep meep, always and forever. And finally, Neil Brown might still have a job come the end of the season because the West Virginia Mountaineers are not only alive in the Big 12 race, they are.
Country roads, take me home because we're going bowling, 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 bowling.
That's right, baby.
There's 1,000% chance that Pat McAfee loves that song.
Oh, constantly just playing in his earbuds. He doesn't listen to any other song.
No, he doesn't. He probably went to high school with Fred Durst.
Oh, 100%.
He and Tone Diggs had a turf war, apparently.
Love it.
And you'll love to see it. This was episode 109 of Fall. 129 of Fall Start. Yes, we've done 20 more
Yeah.
than that. Once you,
Once you get over 100, it starts to run together, brother.
when you get up to numbers where you don't think Pat McAfee can count up to, you start forgetting yourself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
129%. Yes.
129% sure.
Imagine telling somebody that I am 129% sure.
That they would probably just think that you're the dumbest person alive at that point, which is what I go for.
The doubt seeps in.
That's right.
Yes, you can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sissel20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Like Scott Satterfield put five on it.
Put
Five.
five on it, baby.
This was a very Nebraska number. Now this is a very false start number. Yes, we love 5-star reviews almost as much as you, the starters. You
Five
guys
star
have,
hearts, 5-star reviews. That's what we love.
if if you want to get a leadership rep, give us a 5-star review.
That's right.
Oh yes, so we got Cody's gonna be coming here with playoff Goldilocks here on Tuesday night. We're gonna be recording for Thanksgiving. We'll have some Thanksgiving themed stuff. So like just like Novocaine with corn, it's gonna be called just like tryptophan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Put us right to sleep.
Put us right to sleep, go sleepy night. Yes, it's gonna be a time. And then obviously we're gonna be coming to you live 3 yards in a cloud of punt on Saturday. What's the Saturday game of note? Do you
Is,
recall?
is it Texas A&M? Isn't that a night game?
Yeah, I'm gonna look this up. Tamu football, whatever. Yeah, there we go. Texas A&M. Yes, it's gonna be great. I can't wait to watch that game and not have like ads, unless there's like some gubernatorial runoff there.
Who knows? I mean, they might be getting ready for 2028 at this point, for all we know.
And we're getting ready for 2028 all the time here on False Start because I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of False Start.